267 for a target price of 250.
Okay, all right, Himanshu, thanks a lot for joining us and taking us through your technical picks. That's all about markets, but let's get stock specific now. Samvardhana Motherson has announced first acquisition in Japan. Company will acquire mirror business of Ichigo Industries in Japan. We have Laksh Vaaman Sehgal, who's the vice chairman of the company, joining us now to discuss this and the outlook going ahead. And we also have Sonia, who will be joining us to take this conversation forward. Mr. Sehgal, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for joining us. First up, the main question, of course, what are the synergy benefits that you're seeing from this acquisition? A new market for you? What kind of benefits do you see here?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's a very important acquisition for Motherson. Actually gives us our first manufacturing footprint in Japan. Of course, as we all know, the Japanese car makers are very important. Not only do they have a large presence in Japan, they make about 7 million cars, but also outside globally, they make more than 17 million cars. So this will enable us to supply them in the home market in Japan, and as well, of course, offer our products to their production vehicles globally in a much bigger way. So we see a lot of synergies here. We see a lot of opportunities to increase our penetration in the Japanese car OEMs, and as well use the technologies that they have, for example, an actuator, power fold, which are useful in the mirrors for us to diversify our offerings globally to all our customers.
Laksh, hi, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. So you said that they may globally provide mirrors for 70 million cars. Can you tell us what is the market share currently of Ichigo and what kind of growth do you see for the business? How can it sort of contribute to your own top line?
No, I said Japanese car makers make a lot of cars outside of Japan. So that, sorry, I have to correct you there. But Ichigo, of course, is a relatively small player in Japan. They are quite aligned to only a smaller number of car makers in Japan. But the most important thing is that they have a physical footprint in Japan, which is very important if you want to supply the Japanese car makers. So using those facilities there in Japan, in China, and of course, our facilities, which we have globally, we're really able to support their programs on a global basis and be able to give the customers new offerings on technologies, which we were not able to do before because of this competition or because we didn't have a physical footprint in Japan.
So what is the market share currently that they enjoy?
It's a small market share in Japan. I think the more important thing is with Motherson's market share at 25% of the rearview mirror market, I think that's where we'll really be able to show growth in the coming years.
Okay, in terms of margins, the company, I understand, has around 8% margins currently, and pre-COVID, the margins were around 10%, right? So given your own backward integration capabilities, what is the margin expansion that you can expect over the next 2 to 3 years?
Of course, we are looking at ways to improve the profitability. I think we have to understand that this company is a carve-out. It was sold to another company, and now we have bought this from there. So their core business was not mirrors. So definitely, we do see an opportunity for ourselves to improve the margins over here. But it's a EPS accretive acquisition, and of course using the synergies of Motherson and a global supply base and all the technologies and patents that we hold to supplement their offerings to the car makers, I think we will be able to sell more advanced mirrors and of course be able to increase all the parameters, but we focus on ROS, so we're going to try to get this to a 40% ROS as soon as possible.
So this is a fairly small acquisition, but you also mentioned in the release that you intend to acquire the mirror business of Ichigo Industries in Thailand and Malaysia as well, a net asset value of 29 million yen. Can you give us a breakup of this entity? What is the revenue, the EBITDA, the key customers, and how do you plan to grow?
Again, this is focused on the Japanese car makers, but this is again a smaller entity that's only doing a bit of trading, etc. I think the bigger opportunity here again is for Motherson to use these opportunities of the entries that they have made and set up manufacturing bases or support from our existing bases that we have in Thailand, that we have in India, that we have in China for these new markets where they're already supporting the car makers. So it's relatively small, but I think the most important thing is to have the relationship with the car makers is the most important step in increasing a business. Once you are inside, once you're supporting a program, then for the future programs, you can much more easily expand the business than trying to win it from scratch. So I think that's the important thing. That's going to be step 2, because this is relatively smaller entities that will be transferred. But more importantly, we'll get access to those programs which we were not on before.
Okay. And what is the ROCE profile, since your company focuses on the ROCE more than any other ratio of this acquired entity? What is the ROCE profile currently?
Look, like I said, everything will depend on whether the working capital sector is very close. So all those adjustments still have to be made. But like I said, it'll be a EPS accretive transaction. We're buying it at 4.1 times the EBITDA of 2021, and it's at JPY of 5.2 billion. I'm sure we'll come to you with those numbers once we close and we have the final numbers.
Okay. This is the third acquisition that you've made under the Vision Systems business division as part of your 5-year plan. The earlier 2 were in Turkey and China. Any more acquisitions over the next 12 months that you'll be looking at, and what is the war chest that you've outlined for the same?
Sonia, it took us, almost 12 years to do the first acquisition in SMR, and now they've done 3 in the span of 1 year. So finally, things are getting moving. So of course, we don't count out more acquisitions won't happen. Definitely for our 2025 target, there has to be some acquisitions, some large ones as well. We're working quite closely with our customers and car makers on it. As you can imagine, there's a crazy world out there right now with a lot of opportunities. So, I'm sure more things will come and we'll be presenting it on your show as soon as they happen.
Okay. Just one final question before we let you go then. Since you are with us, how is the situation currently? Because Europe has been under a lot of pressure. There's a massive energy crisis playing out there. Demand is, under pressure across both Europe and North America now. But how is the demand on the ground according to you? And do you see any headwinds to earnings in the next few quarters?
Yeah, so it is a strange world at the moment. I think from our side, on the demand side, demand is strong. And that's also because of what's happened the last few years. The semiconductor issue is still having a hangover across Europe. It's supposed to have been solved. It has not been. Working capitals are all increased because of the shortage of components. We are seeing the energy crisis, which you have rightfully, stated. So I think it's an interesting time. It's a difficult time, but at the same time, we have demand which is quite strong for passenger vehicles, people's preference for personal mobility, new launches of the car makers. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Thanks to Motherson being so diversified with our target of 3CX15, where no country, component, or customer should be more than 15% of our business. We've been trying to mitigate a lot of those risks and have pockets of growth. So on the ground, there is a mixed result of things that are happening. But the hope is that in quarter 3 and quarter 4, things kind of smoothen out and we come back to a normal situation. But overall, Motherson is having a very healthy balance sheet and able to grow, as you can see, even in these tough times.
Okay, all right, Mr. Sehgal, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining us and outlining the focus that you have on this acquisition and the newer markets as well. Good luck to you for your future acquisition plans as well. Well, that's the word coming in from Samvardhana Motherson. But with that, we will slip into a short break now. We have a lot to catch up on the other side.